Hello and thank you for joining me. This is Georgia and I'm here with the simple Bible journaling page for our August 2020 virtual art retreat being run through the Facebook group God's Refrigerator. This month's retreat is all about healing, and at this point I think I'll be doing two Bible journaling pages. Normally we only have the one, but the one I'm showing you today is actually quite a simple page, and it's one that I've already done in my proper journaling Bible, and I'm just going to do a run through and recreate it in the teaching, as I like to call it, the demonstration Bible, just to run you through the steps of how to create this simple page. And then I very likely will later on during our retreat do a more complicated page focusing on my focus verse for this retreat. So even though today's tutorial is a healing themed page, I seem to have a lot of them, I guess, there'll be a bigger one later. Okay, so the page we're creating today is basically this. So this is my page from Mark 1:40-41, which is Jesus cleanses a leper who basically begs him and says, if you will, you can heal me or you can cleanse me. Stuff is going on. There's always stuff going on, right? There's a whole backstory, but you know. So this is the page we're going to be creating. So you'll need your acrylic paints. You'll need some sort of medical kind of thing, perhaps, if you can. A heartbeaty thing. Girls and Guy at the retreat actually have something. We have a secret thing that everyone has access to. But if you don't have a paper with this sort of design, you can probably download something from the internet and print it off. You could actually paint the design on yourself. You might have a die. There is a Tim Holtz die that has a heartbeat. Anything that will give you that kind of effect. So the first thing you want to do is, well, what I've actually already done is I have gessoed my page. Now I know it's not particularly necessary since we're using acrylic paint, so it will not go through your page and paper collages. But I tend to, number one, I tend to gesso everything just in case, mainly because I never know what I'm going to end up doing. And also because this is not a journaling Bible, it's just a regular Bible, the pages do tend to be a little bit thinner. So when I'm doing demonstration pages, I gesso everything in this book just to give the pages a little bit more thickness. So whether or not you're prepping your page, once you've done that, if you have a paper that you are using, you basically want to measure it to the width of your page. And see, I'm so accurate. I just scrunch it there with my fingernail. And I'm just going to cut that. And we better get that right because I think this is the only page that I have left with this design. So there we go. I've got the other half in case I've mucked it up. And then I am going to just, so having a practice here, remembering which way okay, that way. I'm just going to tear it. And yes, I do want that white bits and obvious tearing action. And I'm going to the bottom as well, which is a little bit harder because I don't want to take away any of that design. So I'm just going to do that a little bit more slowly and more carefully. I'm trying to avoid that scallop pattern that's happening there. Okay, so I want a ripped look. Now, really important is to actually, see, this will actually work out quite different to my other page because the verse is in a different place. And also because it's not a journaling Bible, I've got the 2 columns going on, whereas in my journaling Bible, the script goes all the way across the page. So next thing to do is actually to mask off your focus verse. Now, of course, you don't have to be using the verse that I'm using. You could have your own place that you've chosen that you need to be. But wherever you are and whatever you're using, mask off with either a bit of washi tape that you've sort of dabbed onto your clothes a couple of times so it's not too sticky, or I'm using the Sizzix, I'm calling it masking tape. It's not called masking tape. The word eludes me. But I'm using the Sizzix tape that I love so much that I use all the time. And I am just going to mask off the parts that I want to keep clear of paint. And now I am hoping that my little pattern is actually going to fit somewhere. Okay, so it's already too big, so I'm just going to, I am going to make it smaller. So I think I'll end up sticking it here. So if I mark the place roughly, just about a centimetre or half centimetre in from the edges. Now I know that this area here will be covered by paper, so I don't have to waste paint and bother doing anything there. Now what you then need to do is grab your acrylic paints in colours that coordinate or match or kind of look good with the paper that you're using. Right, so I've chosen my go-to blue, which is the Dina Wakley Sky, which I use so much of, and I've got some white in there as well, which at the moment happens to be Stamperia brand. And I am simply going to, oops, after saying don't paint that because, you know, not necessary, I am going to simply slather on the paint. I've gone over the page already, so I'm being messy. It's not even that late at night. Normally I can blame the time and say, oh no, it's 11 o'clock, I'm tired. But for a change, it's only 8:30. So I've actually packed up all the necessary work stuff early today, which is nice to do. I haven't done that in a long time. And I'm just going to bring in a little bits of white. There's no rhyme or reason here. I'm just creating a sort of nice bluish background, and I don't want it to be too flat. That's why I bring in the white, just to give it a little bit of, not direction, but just I don't know, just a bit of interest. Because otherwise, if you just paint the one color over the entire page, it's too much like a poster or something, I don't know, something boringish. And I probably should have put a bit of masking tape or washi tape down the side there. Well, the page next door is going to be blue. I have no idea how there's purple on my page. I slather it on quite thickly. Oh, these. Once upon a time I said you don't have to have a journaling Bible, you could just paint in a regular Bible. The time I said that, so whoever can find it, tell me so I can go back and edit and say never ever do that. Don't ever just use a regular Bible as your journaling Bible if you're going to paint, because the pages are just so thin. Okay, and I'm just doing my usual, girls and guy who know me, now that I like to just do these movement kind of something moving through the page type of patterns. But I am blending it a little bit because I'm going to do some white spatter in a little while. So I don't want too much actual white on the page. I want it to be more blue, but just different tones of blue. Okay. Now my iPad battery is about to run out. So that is God's way of saying, hey girl, put the videoing away for today and have some time for yourself doing the other stuff you want to be doing, because you haven't been doing your own Bible journaling this week. You've been making videos and stressing over retreating stuff that you have to organize. So I am going to put this away now, let this dry overnight, and I will finish this off for you tomorrow. Oh, that was a big Aussie-ism coming through there. I'll do it for yous. I don't normally speak like that. I've never said yous in my life before, I'm sure. So I will let that dry, and I'll come back tomorrow when it's dry and carry on and do the second half. This is quite a quick and easy page to do. You probably, if you have a heat gun, you could actually do the whole thing in one session. I'm having an overnight break. So I'll be back when this is dry. Now that the paint has dried, I am going to do a little bit of spattering. Now I am doing some white spatter. You don't have to, well, you don't have to do spattering at all if you don't want to. You don't have to do it in white. I've just got a bit of white paint in here, and I'm adding quite a bit of water to make it nice and liquidy. You don't have to do it white. You could do it a darker shade of whatever color you've used. So you could do a dark blue if you had done a white one like this. You could do a contrasting color. Anything you like. I've got a few, oops, almost forgot. Need to protect the other page. I have some protective stuff all the way around the desk to try and stop the spatter from going on everything. And I'm just doing a few flicks with my brush. I'm actually going for some really big splotty bits today. So I'm really loading up the brush with a lot of the liquidy paint and giving it a bit of a tap against my finger, and I'm sort of tapping the handle of the brush at the same time. I'm getting some streaks as well, which is good. And I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to let that dry. And I am not doing anything else to this page that cannot be controlled. So it's now safe to take off the masking tape or washi tape that you've used, because whatever else I do, I have no fear of it going over the words that I'm keeping clear. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just stick this down so that it's done and I know where it is. You could use double-sided tape for this if you wanted to, or your favorite glue. Absolutely use a glue stick if you prefer that over wet glue. But do make sure whatever you use, be it double-sided tape, glue stick, wet glue, I don't know what else, whatever you use, make sure it's acid-free. Just a little thought I had for you. Because if you're using something that's not acid-free, over time, it will yellow and go yucky, and your beautiful Bible that you have spent so much time creating these beautiful pages in, they'll go yellow and horrible looking. So that's the craft shops, scrapbooking, crafty girl, whatever you want to call me, coming out of me for a moment there and just saying, hey guys, just be careful what you use. Just make sure, read your label, make sure you're using something that's acid-free, archival, one of those words, because once again, you don't want your beautiful hours and hours of work to 5 years down the track do that. You know, those horrible photo albums we had as children with the remember those that used to stick the photos on that sticky sort of page and the plastic would go over it, and now when you pull them out, the pages have gone yellow, the photos have gone yellow because the acid build-up on your pages is actually a type of disease, you can call it, and it spreads. It spreads to your photos and anything else that you put on those pages. So same with your Bibles. If you're using something that is not acid-free, over years it will start to develop that yellow acidy, there is a word for it, I can't think of it, and it will not only be on your page, but it will spread to everything else. So if you had used, the naughty glue under this will go yellow. Your Bible page will go yellow. The page over the back will go yellow. That will spread to the next page, to the next page. And that's why when you look at old books, you see this whole area has gone all yellow, because it spreads. It's contagious. So that was my little my thing for the day. She steps down off her soapbox. I think this is dry now. This is stuck down. I've been rubbing it as I talk. Okay, so the next thing, there are 2 more things I'm going to do here. Well, 3 more things, because I'm going to outline this verse. So apart from that, there are 2 other things. I'm going to write a focus verse, and I'm going to do a little bit of doodling with some paint. I'm going to write the focus verse first, so that I can then paint doodle around it, rather than having to write over my paint doodles and go, oh no, this isn't working, bumpy or whatever. So choose your focus verse, or whatever you want to write. Does not have to be the verse. You could write something meaningful and personal to yourself and write it across the page. I tend to do a very light lead pencil and then go over it with my black marker, though I have recently started to go, oh, forget the pencil, because I always end up changing it anyway. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I will come back. Right, so I've written my verse on the page. Sorry about glariness, but yeah, the light does that sort of glary thing. I used my Uniball gel markers to just write it in black and then give it a white shadow. Now, making sure that it's dry, because I don't want to be smudging it with my hands, I'm just going to get a bit of the dark blue paint. Whoops. So I'm using the Dina Wakley Lapis paint. And with my favourite teeny weeny brush, it's good to have some teeny weeny brushes, I am just going to, and oh, it's hard when you're filming yourself and you don't know if it's actually going to work this time around. Do little cross patterns. Not going for perfection here. I can never find the right teeny brush. You could do any sort of patterns you want. You don't have to do anything at all, really. But because I did it on the other page that I showed you, I'm trying to replicate it completely. This is quite a thick paint. Maybe if I'd watered it down a bit, I might have had better luck. If anybody can suggest, looking at you, Lara, if anybody can suggest a brand of really thin paintbrush that does not feather out over time, because I've got a few really thin ones, some of which I actually paid a fair bit of money for, but over time the bristles sort of feather out a little bit, and you no longer have that, that beautiful brand new paintbrush, really, really thin look or feel. I went over the top of up there, but that's okay. Oh, really, really smudgy up there, and the more I fiddle, the worse it gets. So I'm leaving it be. Okay, so that's that. Okay, and the last thing that remains to be done is just to highlight the verse. I'm just using a Kaisercraft metallic marker in a blue colour. And I am, sorry, I'm having a thought, but I don't have something better. I'm not completely happy with this marker, but it's all I've got. So normally I would just go around the verse and just leave it like that, but this particular one I just wanted to highlight a few other bits. So I'm actually highlighting words and phrases within the verse. So I've sort of done a outline around if you choose. And then I'm outlining Jesus stretched out his hand, and I'm outlining touched him. And I've made such a mess that I've gone over the other words that I wanted to highlight. Oh dear. I do choose I wanted to highlight, and it's kind of, there we go. All right, and he was made clean. And it probably looks like a mess, but I don't know. To me, I can see it, so that's all right. Okay, so now at this point you could personalize it, write things that are special for you, put some secret journaling if you wanted. If you don't like painting over the words of your Bible, you could have kept this painted area rather thin. You could do it with watercolor, or you could mix some gel medium into your acrylic paint so that it's translucent. And then you could use this paper as a tip-in rather than gluing it down. Maybe just use washi or a thin line of glue just to hold the side down that you can open it up, still see the writing underneath, and then you could write your secret journaling on the back side of it. You could just write your journaling all over the page. Because this is just my demonstration Bible, I am keeping it like this. I'm not adding anything personal to it, because this is I don't know. Yeah, it's not the personal book. It's just it's the lesson book. The personal stuff's been written in the other one that I showed you earlier. If this was my personal one, I'd be a little bit annoyed at the mess that I made up here. I don't like it. The crosses are too chunky and too many of them. I would probably then go in with the white paint and add something else, but I'm leaving it for now. You could also, if you wanted to, maybe, I did not do this to the other one, but I'll do it here just because it's something I do a lot. You could go around and scribble a border around the entire page. Just to bring everything together and give it a little bit of a finished look. Either. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it like that. So that was our pretty simple Bible journaling page for this August 2020 virtual art retreat. Your faith has made you well. Run through my Facebook group, God's Refrigerator. If it's still somewhere between the 27th and the 31st of August, come along and join us. If you are watching this video after the fact and you wish you'd been here with us, we have a virtual art retreat every month. So join the group and yay, come on over. Okay, I will put all my social links down below. Thank you very much for joining me, and I would love to see your finished pages. Okay, bye.